With 2024 at a close, I wanted to take a little time and talk about how the year has been for me as a YouTuber. I've been doing this for a little over 5 years now, full time, which is wild to think about. I am very fortunate. I hope I'm just getting started here, although I do remember hearing a stat that most channels fade out after 5 years, so we'll see. I don't know if this sort of thing is interesting to other people, but I guess I wanted to pull back the veil a little bit and get into some of the specifics of how the year went for me, creatively and in other ways as well. How successful is the channel? How successful am I? Are things going well? Are things going poorly? So let's get into it. In 2024, the Rasputin channel had 6 videos, which is the lowest I've had since doing this full time. That is not the amount of videos I want to put out. It is not the amount of videos I was hoping to put out, but it is the amount of videos I did put out. This is a 2 video decrease from 2023, in which I put out 8 videos, and in 2022, I put out 10 videos, so that was a decent year. My mental goal is I would love to put out a video a month, but there are lots of things that get in the way of that I'll get into a little bit later here. When comparing my analytics of 2024 to 2023, pretty much everything from views to watch time to subs to revenue is about 25% less, which makes sense, I guess, because I put out 25% less content. While 2 of my videos on their own would not have made up the gap in all of those stats, it may have boosted my other videos, which might have helped. That sort of thing is pretty common. Whenever I have one video take off, pretty much the entire channel does better. So the nice thing about this is that while I have had a drop in views and probably most importantly, that affects my life the most in revenue, which is always scary with YouTube, the per video average in regards to these things is on pace with what it's been at in the past, if not a little bit higher. 3 of my 6 videos last year passed 1 million views, which is really great. There are many ways to judge success aside from views, but as this is my full-time job, that is reassuring. I still know how to make stuff that will be appealing both to my core audience and to a wider audience, and that means something. It makes me hopeful that I will be able to survive past the 5-year limit. It also shows a pretty clear area for me to address in order to keep growing the channel and have a better year this year, and that is to make more videos. Of course, I do believe in quality over quantity as a general rule, but YouTube doesn't. It really doesn't care much about quality at all. It's more complicated than that, but the reality is if you put 200 hours into a project, it is not guaranteed to do better than one that you put 20 into. And that doesn't mean people shouldn't ever do the big thing, but just that when treating this as a job, you have to consider what is actually sustainable. So the first question for me to address is what has slowed down my video making process? One part of it is that my videos have gotten longer. Like in 2024 with just 6 videos, the total time came out to about 170 minutes, where in 2023, the total was 184 minutes despite there being 2 more videos. I often am coming in closer to 30 minutes than 20 minutes now, and maybe that's just what the channel will be from now on, but I do think it's important for me not to fall in the trap of thinking that a Rasputin video has to be 30 minutes, if that makes sense. YouTube does reward longer videos and makes you feel better about them, which kind of pushes you to keep making longer videos, but my most successful video this year was a shorter one, so I gotta keep in mind that the length of something doesn't really matter. Now, while it's definitely had an impact on the amount I've been able to produce, I don't think it is the biggest reason. What's made a much larger impact is that I've just been working on a lot of other things this year. In 2024, I put out 16 videos right here. One of those was a compilation of the videos I made in 2023. Another was a short segment I made for a collaboration. Another was 40 seconds long. So I don't think comparing that amount of videos to the amount I put out on the main channel makes a lot of sense, but I did still put a lot of stuff out. Of stuff made in 2024 for this channel, I produced about 150 minutes of videos. Now, the amount of time that goes into producing a minute of a Raz video is not the same that goes into producing a minute of a Rasputin video. On Raz, while I do script out the monthly videos, it mostly is just my first thoughts and I don't spend time revising or researching. And for stuff like the Game of Thrones or Skyrim videos, I didn't script at all. I just kind of went for it. I didn't track my total hours, so it is hard to really tell what I would have been able to do. But I think had I not been doing stuff on the second channel, I probably could have produced one more 30-minute Rasputin video, which frankly, from a financial standpoint, would have been a better choice. The second channel did have a solid year, but it is still growing, so it's not a reliable source of income. I hope someday it can be, and I think there are a lot of reasons to think it might, but at this point, it hasn't been. I have had a lot of fun with it. To be honest, it's nice to have a smaller community over here. The inside jokes that come with the monthly videos are very fun, and I don't feel that same sense of community on the main channel anymore because it's kind of ballooned to a point where there's just too many people to have a real identity, where I do think there is an identity here, which is cool. Of course, I don't have a lot of time, so even though I do enjoy that aspect of it, I also want to build it to become sustainable on its own so that I can justify putting more time into it. Along with this channel, I also was in 4 Iron Pineapple videos last year, which involved doing somewhat lengthy playthroughs of a bunch of games. This sort of thing is hard because I do kind of view playing games with friends as free time, but as the separation between my free time and work time is kind of blurred now, and frankly I don't have much of what I consider free time, it certainly ended up slowing me down a bit. Now, along with producing the 16 second channel videos and carrying Pine 4 times, I also produced, with the help of my wife, and when I say with the help of my wife, I mean she did the actual hard part, 1 human child. Yeah, as it turns out, 2 kids is twice as many as 1, not just 1 more than 1. And maybe that all sounds the same, but if you have multiple kids, you know it is not. This shift obviously was a huge one, and as my job offers a lot of flexibility, I capitalized on that a ton. I took a bunch of time off around when she was born, I took some time off a few months after when my wife started going back to work, and kind of whenever the kids get sick, I am the one to take care of them. And then I also got sick a lot this year when the kids got sick, so it was a cycle of pain and torment and runny noses and coughs, which when your job is to talk into a microphone, having a runny nose and sounding congested is rough. And maybe I just need to get over that and not be so in my head about sounding quote unquote like Rasputin should sound. But it is hard. It is hard when you're putting something out that is going to be permanent, that is just going to be out there, that you can't really change and not feel like you are putting out your best. And then sometimes I just literally couldn't get through a script or reading off a script because I was so congested and coughing all the time. But whatever, that happens. People get sick. Having a kid was definitely the biggest factor in a lower output of videos because I wanted to focus on her and wanted to focus on having 2 kids now, because when we had our first, it was still just 1 and it was easier for me and my wife to split time. But hey, the numbers are even now, which makes things a lot more complicated, and there are so many more relationships to manage. Because yeah, essentially when you add a new kid and you already have 1 kid, that is 3 new relationships for the family. And that's not even counting the family as a whole changing. So yeah, a lot of focus has gone to that. And with all these things that ended up slowing down production on the main channel, obviously I wouldn't change any of them. But I am hoping I can take what I learned from this past year and bring it into the next in order to do what I do, but better. So having assessed what slowed me down, what does this all mean for next year? And that's a good question. Some things in my life will just balance out more. My kids are a little older now, and while they are still quite young and require tons of help, we are phasing out of certain things that are super time consuming. Depending on the day, I probably spend half an hour to an hour washing and preparing bottles. So when she's out of that phase, it'll start to open up a lot more time. And as babies get older, they need a little bit less time, which will give a little more breathing room for certain things. Also, I'm hoping that they will get sick less often, but I've hoped that every single year, so it probably won't happen. But their immune systems have to become golden someday, right? Right? Then when it comes more to how I'll be moving forward, the push and pull I feel with the main channel currently is that my life in a lot of ways would be far more stable if I just release more videos on it. But also the ideas I am most excited about are ones that involve a lot of prep and research and will just take way longer to make. Whether that be playing through games in a certain way or reading a ton of articles about a certain phenomenon, it just will take time. And when I'm doing monthly videos, it's harder to fit those in. So my current thought is that given that stuff here doesn't take nearly as long to produce, I want to see if I can build this channel into something that helps support the main channel. So this year I'm going to throw a lot more stuff at the wall and also try to separate it a bit more from the main channel so that I can better measure how things are actually going. going. One noticeable way I'm going to be doing this is by moving perks I have over on the Patreon to become perks for members over here. So if you'd like to suggest and vote on a game I play each month with an asterisk, consider being a member. Different tiers have different rewards, and maybe there's something there for you. And I do get how some of this looks. I imagine it's easy to look at this kind of cynically and assume I'm just doing this for the money. And yeah, I guess I am in a sense. So I'm a sellout. It isn't quite as simple as that. The only reason I have considered doing more stuff here is because I do enjoy this space as an outlet. It is fun to get quick thoughts out there, and it's fun to make unscripted videos and build up a whole new skill set. I want to become better at sharing thoughts off the top of my head, and the only way to do that is really by practicing. I also want to get better at speaking in general. Obviously, you mostly know me as guy who reads off script in a video essay voice, so you don't necessarily know how I generally talk, but I do stammer and a fair bit, and I think if I keep practicing through these videos, I may stop, but I probably won't. Also, if my only concern was fully maximizing profit, I would churn out main channel videos, as that's where the guaranteed money is. Also, I would stop making the games I played each month series, as they have a lower ceiling than other stuff. And of course, I might stop if I decide to. Never forget that threat. It is real. It could happen. It may happen. It probably won't for a while, but it could. Be afraid. Life is impermanent, and so is my ability to produce videos. But it is something I enjoy making in order to have a concrete memory of when I played a game, and also so that I can more reliably write everything I play off on my taxes. I guess the reason I say all of this is just so you know I care. I really care about the things I make. I care about this channel, even though it is on the sloppier side of YouTube. Although I will say, I think one issue with this channel is that I may put a little bit too much effort into certain things, or at least more effort than I thought I might. I don't know, I could probably get away with just using one continuous clip for the games I played each month series, instead of having them be somewhat highly edited and putting in relevant clips constantly. But also, I don't know, I want it to look good. I want the videos to be solid. It is a cool and weird thing when your passion also becomes the way you make money, because you do have to think about it differently. People often like to say, just make what you love, and I try to. I regularly do. But it's often more complicated than that, and you can't always support just making what you love. So sometimes you gotta find things that you like to make, or at least tolerate making, so that you can really make the things you love. And in 2026, the update I'd love to give is that this channel has done well enough where I can spend a little bit more time between main channel videos, so that I can do the things that I want to do, the things that will take a little bit more prep time to accomplish. And if that doesn't happen, that's okay. I do have plenty of ideas for the main channel that are quicker to make. But I figured I might as well give this a shot now, because I'm in an okay position to do it. So yeah, my early plan for this year is to release more stuff. And honestly, that's on both channels. On the main channel, I'm going to try to put out stuff more in the 20-minute range, as I aim to get more of a footing here. And on here, I'm gonna post more off-the-cuff stuff. And then when I get to May or something, I'll see how it's all going and adjust accordingly. But who knows? Things might get in the way, passion might pull me towards a project I didn't expect, and I might just change my mind about what I think is the smartest way to live my life. At some point, something's gotta give. I like having multiple outlets, but I do have to get them to a point where they justify the time I put into it. So I'm hoping I can do that. I'm hoping I can turn all these things into stuff that is both creatively fulfilling and supports itself. I'm not necessarily at a spot where I need to make a change immediately. My channel is doing fine, I'm doing fine, but I just want to make sure I make changes and add things when I am doing fine. And maybe that's silly, but my thought is, when you are making the desperation move to save your channel or to diversify what you're doing as you're fading, I think it's a lot harder for anything to take root. So I want to be a little proactive about creating a space on here that is a little bit wider than the space I currently have. Regardless of what it ends up being, I hope some of you hang around for it. It is weird to me that people have hung around for the amount of time they have. I know I have some people who have been watching me for 10 years, which yeah, is incredible. It's hard for me to comprehend. I feel like I'm just some dude who plays video games in his basement, quite literally. And I'm glad that some of you like hearing what I think about them. Anyway, sorry for wasting your time. I hope you have a good one. Bye.